and welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I am your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. I'm up here in Rip City for the week, everyone. Out
Yes,
here on
sir.
work. Got to go to a Blazers game last night. The fellas already know we had to move from yesterday normal recording to today, but appreciated the flexibility, fellas. Damian Lillard, obviously great to watch live, man. But man, that team just sucks. It's sad to see. So great atmosphere. City of Portland, they put on a good show for a Blazers game, man. But they need to make some moves. They need to make some moves. I know we're not talking NBA today, man, but man, they're wasting Lillard's career, man. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
I agree.
As a Chicago Bulls fan who hold the protected Portland Trailblazers pick, man, I'm getting flashbacks of when we would trade Luol Deng for the Sacramento pick that turned out to be cash considerations. We traded Luol Deng, one of the best Chicago Bulls players in the modern day era, for a potential pick, and Sacramento sucks for an entire decade, and it turns into a second-round pick, and we trade that pick for $3 million.
There you go, man.
And I'm having flashbacks right now. We traded Lowry Markkanen, the finisher, the marksman, the best player from Finland in the history of Finland, for Derrick Jones and a pick. That might turn out to be nothing.
$2 million.
They're legit. If we get cash considerations, I'm going to break something, man. We gave up on this brother. We gave up on this brother. We got Derrick Jones from the Blazers. That dude's not even in the rotation. We got the finisher that might make All-NBA this year.
He probably will make All-NBA. But, man.
Wait, Laurie, I think is a lock to make it with LeBron and KD being out. Like
at the forward
he
position,
might make it.
24 points, 8 rebounds. All I see is dudes dropping 30-point games every other game right now. And we traded him for Derrick Jones at a pick. Yeah. I hate being a Bulls fan right now. It hurts, man. I don't even like watching games right now.
Zoo, there's another team in Chicago, man, that's been making some decent moves, man. Those Chicago Bears.
Facts.
I know
that was the segue. The segue of segues from your man P. Bush. I was thinking about this like a week ago when I was saying before the pod, NFL free agency, we just kind of look at it as it's cool. Like there's some teams that will get, some marginal players, but I just feel like this year it's been a lot of players that were at least, and this is kind of crazy because I look at everything now through a fantasy lens. So like when the players are moving, I'm thinking about how is that person going to look in my fantasy lineup, 7-8 months from now. So when I was looking at all these names, I was like, there's a lot of big time names that had big years of fantasy. And there's some players that had really massive years of fantasy request and trade. So I wanted to ask the guys, more so people starting off with the Chicago Bears. How do you feel about the trade with the Panthers, which we didn't get to talk about, and then the moves that they made following that?
Oh, beautiful. Ryan, we finally have a GM generally in Chicago, to be honest. GMs in Chicago, man, besides maybe the Cubs back in their World Series run back in, they made some good moves. Finally, man, the Chicago Bears taking some splashes, man. I think we had talked about this a couple months ago once the Bears, locked in that first overall pick. The DJ Moore trade was one of the ones I was very high on. I think the Devontae one was obviously a stretch. I know y'all called me out on my BS for that. But the DJ Moore, that was a 1A, 1B. He's obviously a different level of receiver. But, man, the Bears fleeced the Panthers because they were so desperate to have their choice at quarterback. I mean, they only moved back 8 spots. They're primed to take a solid offensive lineman. Hopefully that left tackle out of Northwestern. I can't say his last name, so I'm not even going to try it. They made a lot of good moves, on the O-line in free agency, solidifying their linebacking core, signing 2. Tremaine Edmonds is obviously an unbelievable signing out of Buffalo, all-pro linebacker, pairing him up with that nice rookie Jack Sanborn. Shout out Lake Zurich High School, Zoo and I's alma mater, man, linebacker out of Wisconsin. And then they bring in TJ Edwards, who Sanborn actually was a teammate of in Wisconsin. So got a little consistency there. They took, I think, DeMarcus Walker from the Tennessee Titans as well. Man, they're going all in. We all knew they had a ton of cash. But this DJ Moore, man, that's a solid trio of wide receivers, man. You got Claypool, you got the big dude, you got DJ Moore as the solidified true number 1. And then you got Darnell Mooney, who can now move back to his original position. I know Sean and I are very high on Darnell Mooney. Zoo's a little bit up and down on the Darnell Mooney train, just doesn't score enough touchdowns for his fantasy liking. But, man, as a third option, that's a hell of a nice receiver as a third option. And then you still got Colt Kmet at tight end. And then you got JF1, himself, man. to solidify that rushing attack, but he can also throw the ball. And now if they can give him some time in the pocket, give him some serious weapons to obviously force the defense to not just focus on one dude and put all of their effort on one guy, they have to respect a couple of different guys on the outside now too. So not only just the pick moving back to 9th, but they also got another second rounder this year. They're going to get the Panthers first rounder next year. And we know that's probably still going to be easily top 10 next year, even if they get Bryce or CJ Stroud. He has no weapons out there in Carolina, pretty much none. They obviously traded McCaffrey. Their defense is okay. I think it kept them in a lot of games this past year, but that's going to be a bottom team and probably the NFC South rivaling the Atlanta Falcons. The Bears are just primed and ready for the next couple of years, and Zoo's just over there sulking in the corner because his Packers are losing everything left and right, man.
And we didn't talk about the Packers, man. We don't have to bring up the Green Bay Packers right now, man.
You know I got to, man. You know I got to.
We're talking about the Chicago Bears. We're talking about the Chicago Bears, and I got to give the boys props. Because my thoughts initially was when they got that first overall pick, trade down, get another high first-round pick, top 10 pick, and get a receiver and another first-round pick.
There you go.
They got all those three things. I was thinking Colts and getting Michael Pittman a pick. That was my prediction, but they got DJ Moore, similar, super young wide receiver. This guy he's getting into his prime. Like, he's like 26 years old. He's in the middle of his prime of that contract. He's got a good contract for this guy being a wide receiver. One had an off year last year, but that offense was abysmal, and now you're giving him a quarterback to grow with. And the additional picks too, man. That first round of next year, man, that's a juicy pick, man. Because that division, the whole thing Panthers have going for them is that division is going to be trash. So someone's got to win those divisional matchups. But that team is going to be a bottom 10 team again. The team is awful. Like, I don't care who comes in there, man. Not even my boy Trevor Lawrence can save that team, that rookie year, man. Nobody can save that team right now. They're going through a whole, we need to find a QB. We're going to go all in. Sort of reminds me of when the Bears moved up to get Mitchell Trubisky, man. It reminds me a lot of that.
You're gonna.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of that because I'm looking at it. They're talking about trading up for the number 1 overall pick, and they're talking about we're still evaluating Bryce Young, Stroud. I'm like, yo, if you traded all these assets, you got to be 100% sure this is the dude of my franchise, and this guy's gonna lead us for the next 5 to 10 years. And they're still evaluating. No. That's not how it works, man. You got if you make that trade, you got to be 100% sure that this is the dude. Like, it also reminds me of the 49ers when they did the same stuff with Trey Lance. You had the rumors, Mac Jones trade up. He's like a stereotypical Shanahan quarterback, pocket passer, not a good runner. And then they changed their mind and took Trey Lance. And obviously he hasn't been given an opportunity with injuries and stuff. But from what I've seen from Trey Lance, he's not a natural thrower of the football. He looks a little awkward in there. Maybe he's getting better, but he's not even close to being a solidified franchise quarterback. So it reminds me of those two situations, the Trey Lance and Mitchell Trubisky's of the world. I don't like that. Panthers, obviously, think about also additional second-round picks.
Two of them, man. And those are valuable in the NFL, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Because right now, the Chicago Bears, they obviously finished the worst record in the NFL, so they need to get players around Justin Fields right now. He is young right now on a rookie contract. You got to get as much talent around him right now because this is how you build a team. Because when that quarterback gets that franchise money, you see Danny Dimes getting 160. What's Justin Fields going to get if he has another spectacular year?
Yeah,
pretty much. I think Justin Fields is just a better version of Danny Dimes, so he's going to get more than Danny Dimes. So right now you got to go all in. The division's wide open.
Lions and Bears.
Aaron Rodgers is gone. They're going rebuild Jordan Love, and they re-signed Aaron Jones. They're still trying to win, but my thoughts about Jordan Love, little bum ass Jordan Love. Man. He got a lot to prove. You got Jared Goff in Detroit. They got a good offense. They were sneakily fun to watch last year, so I think they're going to actually be a decent team.
They added D-Mont. They added David Montgomery today, man.
They took David Montgomery from the Chicago Bears. And the Vikings, they had a really good record, but it was a pretty average team.
Yeah.
So the division is wide open for the Chicago Bears to make a run at it. And bravo. They didn't mess up the gift of Lovie Smith. This is all Lovie Smith, man.
True.
This is all Lovie Smith. We cannot forget that last week. That was a miracle.
Davis Mills dime too, man. Got to remember that one to force LT.
Exactly. That was the definition of a miracle. And the Chicago Bears were able to cash on the miracle. You got to
Mm.
execute after you get lucky because they got lucky. But now they execute it. They're building the team around it. Got DJ Moore. Reminds me of little A.J. Brown to Mr. Jalen Hurts, man. Stephon Diggs to Josh Allen. Now it's Justin Fields and DJ Moore, man. I'm really, really excited to see this roster. And no excuses, man.
No.
They got him Claypool, a big receiver, young receiver. You got guys like Moody, man, as a third receiver. Look, so you got all these weapons out there. And I'm ready to see how they do. I'm ready to see the Chicago Bears.
I would be, if I was like with that second round pick, if there's like, because I mean, there's receivers every year, I would still be, even though I would address the offensive line with that first round pick, and I probably would do it in the second round too, unless there's just not a lineman that, because I think they said this year I guess offensive lineman draft is hit or miss outside of the first round. So like if you maybe see another playmaker, I would go get one too. But DJ Moore, like he almost had 1,000 yards with what PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, like. In the years before that, looking at his stats, like 21, he had over 1,000, 20, he had over 1,000, and 19, he had over 1,000. And if you really think about Carolina's quarterbacks, it's been just a carousel of guys. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like that kind of shows he's productive. He can get open, and that's crucial for any, like I always say, young quarterback that's trying to grow within the league. You got to have guys that can get open. So the one thing about the Panthers that I'm thinking about when I like probably 2 or 3 hours after the trade, I was like, all this talk before kind of was like the Colts are trying to get to number one because they really want Bryce. I'm wondering if the Panthers are still in the mode of we're going to get, like, I know they're kind of evaluating, but I think the message is going to start coming out in maybe a week or two. Hey, we're all in on Bryce, knowing the Colts want Bryce. Colts are dead set on wanting to get Bryce. If that's the case, then they could trade back, get whatever compensation the Colts have, get some of that draft compensation back, and maybe take a guy like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The Texans may take Stroud. You know, I haven't really heard too much. I know the Texans need a quarterback, but I haven't heard too much about them saying they're going to necessarily go for a quarterback. Yeah. So it's kind of like maybe you could get lucky if the Panthers trade back to 4 and take I mean, there's a lot of people looking at AR right now, AR 15, which I know that's not really the title he wants to go with right now, but he's moving up the draft boards. I mean, for me, 4 is a really, really high for AR. But I mean, maybe you can trade back again. But I think the Panthers are not done with that pick. Because if they angle saying we really want to take Bryce, the Colts knowing that's their guy, because I hadn't really heard anything about CJ Stroud being connected with the Colts. He may be connected, but I know they've talked about wanting Bryce. If they can somehow finagle the Colts to give them something to get up to number 1, then I kind of like what the Panthers did because they also need depth. And, yeah, I don't care who they draft at quarterback. They're going to have to go and draft for the next 3 rounds after that, 3 or 4 rounds after that, and just get receivers because,
Except for their second-round pick because we got that one too, man.
Third, fourth, fifth, whatever. Like, I'm trying to even think. I don't even know who their guys at receiver are. Like, I can't even name it. Like Terrence Marshall, I think, Sean Smith. These are, I can't even really think of any other guys. Maybe they make a play for a guy that's out there like DeAndre or something. Who knows?
It's actually very possible that this team has the first overall pick next year and the Bears get
probably.
And that's what I think. The fact that Ryan Poles was able to convince them of that, I was kind of expecting maybe like, obviously the flip of the pick, another second round for this year, and then maybe 2 more second rounders on top of getting DJ Moore. I honestly probably would have seen that and I would have, okay, I think that's still a solid haul because second round picks, like we said, are very valuable. It's really good for offensive linemen, quality D linemen, which I think is where the Bears need to not only, Orlando Brown Jr. is another free agent, off the Chiefs that I'm very much eyeing for the Bears to maybe make a payday. If they can't get Darius Slay, that's another one that I'm eyeing.
Yeah, he just got released.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think they're going to focus in the draft on, O-line, D-line, and then secondary because they really solidified the interior line on the offensive side, the linebacking core, and then obviously their weaponry is pretty set at this point. It's really just kind of in the trenches and then on the outside on the defensive side of the ball. So, they have a really good safeties, Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker. I don't know, man. This team could be dangerous. It's just got to click and they got to stay healthy. You got to keep Fields from breaking more Bears sacks records, man. That's just not allowed anymore. There's no excuses.
You got to protect the investment.
So, and there's been a ton of other moves too, man. I did like the Darren Waller trade too for the Giants.
I love that trade for the Giants.
Third round pick for Darren Waller. I mean, they're desperate weapons for Daniel Jones. And what better position to give a passive passing quarterback who likes to run the ball than a solid tight end who can get open. He's just got to stay healthy, man. So, that was another one that I was eyeing. I know that was pretty recent as well.
Yeah, that was mine. That was my pick. I mean, and pending because, Aaron Rodgers, we was talking about this before the pod. He's doing all posturing, trying to make this. He's probably doing a video edit, whatever, to make his grand entrance to going to the Jets. But when that is actually official, and I see him in like whatever OTAs and all that stuff, I'm going to be really excited just about that division as a whole because that's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath.
The Bills.
Yes, the Bills, they made some decent signings. Miami with their defense, like I'm going to be real interested to see how that division gets picked because right now, currently looking at it, you could say New England will be fourth in that division if Aaron goes to the Jets. If that's a big if, but I mean, I don't know, he's just playing it up for social media and Pat McAfee. He's going on Pat McAfee and saying like all these coded words of like, I intend to play. Like, what are we doing? Just say you're going to the Jets and like I need to see the NFL logo with you and the freaking Jets, edited in like you looking like you're 12 or whatever. Like I need to see that. It's just a lot of drama, but I mean, I guess you've been watching a lot of NBA.
I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, man, that was my quarterback, man. But all this drama after his trash performance, like he keep trying to make people forget about that trash performance against the Detroit Lions.
That might be what it is, actually.
Dude, I'll tell you, man, nobody talked about that. Nobody. Because he was like,
you did.
I'm talking about we coming back. Like, we just got to win one more game. Pretty much not playing. You win, you get in. The other team had zero motivation. They couldn't make the playoffs.
At home.
Yeah. At home. Lambeau Field in the frozen tundra. Wets the bed, man. Tundra. And you know what he does? I don't know if I'm going to play football next year. Is this my last hurrah? Man, bye-bye, Aaron Rodgers. Absolute trash last year. He was my fantasy quarterback. He was my real-life quarterback. And he played. There it is. He was absolute straight-up garbage last year.
He really used fantasy seasons. That's
that's what this is really about.
No. Yes. It ruined my fantasy team. It ruined my real-life team. And my goodness, and they blame it on the injury in his hand. Okay, let's see. Because if he goes to the Jets with Garrett Wilson,
fantasy stock.
Garrett Wilson, man. That is the number one.
And Brees.
Yeah, Brees coming back from an injury. Because they had if Mike White could light it up.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, are you kidding me? You not no excuses, man. And you got a good defense. And you got weapons. Like, that's a really, really good Jets team.
On all three levels. Yeah. All pro corner, nice linebackers, emerging defensive.
Man. Like, the team is loaded. Yeah, they got his buddy Alan Lazard from the Packers. Man, overpaid him $44 million just for Aaron Rodgers, man. No excuses, man. No excuses.
You know what it would do though if he were to somehow get the Jets into the playoffs and get them to a Super Bowl, and let's just say ideally he did like win a Super Bowl with the Jets. That changes the conversation around Aaron Rodgers a lot. That puts him in a different era, like a different type of tier. Like
first year.
I put it this way: if he does that, Mahomes will, I think, go down being better than him. But you can't just if somebody were to say, "Yo, I take Rodgers over Mahomes," you can't like dismiss them if he does that. You can dismiss him, but not like disrespectfully. Because Mahomes, I think, is going to be better because he's probably going to win more. But it would be a super conversation then because we still Aaron Rodgers is he's made himself a little bit more unlikable as he's gotten older. But Aaron Rodgers in his heyday was just nuts. He's still, I think, like before Mahomes came, and I still when Aaron was in his heyday, when he was like those first couple years making throws, he was dirty. But I don't know. It's been, NFL for me, I just like that this year it feels like more starish type players. I don't want to say superstars and like players that are really, really good for their respective teams. Like, you see the alert where it's like this player is seeking a trade. Like Austin Eckler, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, like, okay, Eckler's could like be on a championship contender. Like, imagine him with the Bills. Like if Eckler somehow got on the Bills, that would be insane. That's
they'd actually have to learn, Sean. They'd actually have to learn to run the ball if that was the case, right? Because that's always been their downfall. But we talked about him trying to get McCaffrey. We thought that would have been the over-the-top move for them. Turned out that it was that for the Niners. Obviously, Brock Purdy's injury and,
ruined that. Yeah.
Whatever. We didn't expect them to get that far anyways, no matter how talented that team is. You still need a solid quarterback. But, man, that McCaffrey addition, beautiful for the long term, and at least the next couple of years. So, there's a lot. This has probably been one of the bigger movement years I've seen.
For sure.
Especially trading picks. I was just genuinely surprised at how quickly the Bears moved the first overall pick prior to the draft. I mean, we're still like a month out from the draft. But I think they could also be a team that at 9, they're thinking, all right, yeah, we could actually move back again and get even more draft assets and maybe move to that 15 mark. If somebody wants to move up to 9, take Anthony Richardson. That's another potential opportunity, because I know you said 4 is a little high. That 9-10 range, man, that could be a solid.
Yeah, he's looking like a top 10 guy now.
Yeah.
And you know what I think with the Bears would probably move the needle is I think that framework of the draft compensation was probably like maybe 3 or 4 teams had that probably exact compensation. And what put it over the top was Carolina added the number 1 receiver. The Bears like, all right, got it. Because there was probably nobody offering like a receiver. Like
maybe
other teams like, get out of here. Yeah. As soon as they offered DJ Moore, it's like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Because, I mean, with the picks, you never know how that's going to turn out, but you kind of have an idea that DJ Moore's going to be good. So we're going to be staying tuned.
We all know Zoo's going to be picking DJ Moore next year. Let's just put it that way. He's going to stack him and Fields, man. That's going to be Zoo's stack.
Moon.
Just like Hurts and AJ Brown. He should have done it this year, but he didn't.
Yeah.
I hate Allen Robinson.
Oh, man, that was another super disappointment.
Yeah.
Man, before we go, how Baker talk about the NFC South just being like that is a smelly ass division. Like, ugh, I don't want no parts of the NFC South.
What team is going to be below 500 and make the playoffs, man?
Again,
it's a nasty division.
It's going to be the Saints, man. They're going to take it. They have the best average quarterback in that division, man.
Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield.
And if Derek Carr would get injured, they got Jameis, and then Dalton goes to the Panthers. Like what? Like. That's why the Panthers they're so interesting. Like I feel like
you signed Dalton,
man, they might be it because to me Dalton seems like he's not completely garbage, but like he's a bridge guy. He could be a bridge backup guy. So it was like I'll just say it would not be shocking if they traded back and took Richardson because it just seems like that's
get a little bit of something.
Really?
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me because Dalton, to me, if you're all in on a Bryce or a Stroud, why do you take Dalton? Just keep PJ Walker because Bryce and them are going to start. They don't really need to like sit and learn. Dalton is a guy like, because even Dalton last year, he took that Saints job, but he was going against Jameis. Yeah. Like he was thinking he could start. He wasn't thinking like, oh, like I'm going to be a bridge guy for Jameis. So I think Dalton's more of a guy where he was a starter in this league. He's a bridge backup, like we said. And I mean, AR, like we both said, he needs to sit and learn. So Andy Dalton could maybe in that division keep them relevant and let AR learn. And, unless he gets hurt, but then you can't.
This draft's going to be crazy either way. There's going to be
it's just going to be in the same draft. It is what it is with just all the movement. And I'm excited about it. And once the draft comes, and I think late April, we'll get some more clarity on who's going to be the contenders and pretenders. So, shifting to March Madness, this year has been I would say, starless, very average, trying to be nice. Just you don't know who could win type year, and I know in March Madness they say, oh, like it's just unpredictable, and that's what makes it great. But 9 times out of 10 is usually the number 1, 2, 3, or maybe the 4 seed gets there. Like. I mean, St. Peter's was such an anomaly last year. Like, I don't think that is happening this year. Yeah. So we're going to go through some of our picks of the Final Four. We're not going to go through all the rounds because, I mean, we're trying to keep this under an hour. So I want to ask Zoo. He can be the first guest on this. Who is your Final Four this year?
Oh, man, I'm going through my criteria, man. I go through the objective criteria every year, man. I remember last week. I mentioned the UConn Huskies, man. And the more I look at them, the more I like them, baby. They fit every criteria, man. Because another underrated criteria is how well you do in your conference tournament. This is a big indicator, man. It's like a mini March Madness before that. Because to win the bracket, You got to go win 5-6 games in a row. You got to be on a win streak to win the entire tournament. And with the UConn, obviously, they fell short, but got to be at least semifinals. Those are the minimum. Because if you quarterfinals, you get knocked out, you do not win March Madness. That's a really big criteria I look at for your performance in the tournament. Right before, this is where everybody's trying, man. Everybody's getting ready for the tournament. It's like a precursor. It's like the pregame for the March Madness final tournament, man. So that's a little precursor, man. As I mentioned, potential 3 NBA players, man. Potential 3 NBA players. They might not be lottery picks, man, but the big fella, man. You got the Sanogo, the big fella, man. The best player right now,
He's
16
nice.
points, 8 rebounds, man. I like a good big fella. And you got 2 complimentary guards and wings, man. Jackson Hawkins, baby.
Don't lie, Zoo. You hate big men. Sorry to jump in there.
I hate big men, but
in college.
in college basketball, you can dominate, and you got complimentary guys for that. And I know the history of UConn Huskies basketball, man. Historically, they just do well in the tournament.
That's true.
They historically have done well in the tournament. This is a blue blood program. They are a 4th seed, so they might be a little more underrated relative to other teams. Like most people are going to pick the 1st seeds, like maybe at the Bama or the Houstons, man. But UConn Huskies, man, I'm going to have them in all of my Final 4 brackets, man. All of them. And if I'm in a big bracket, I need a contrarian pick because you pick the number 1 seeds, man. Everybody's going to pick the number 1 seed, so it doesn't matter if you pick them to win at all. You might have to go a little contrarian. So in the big bracket pool, I'm going with the UConn Huskies as my first Final 4 pick, man. And I feel real confident because I don't really like Kansas that much. Going back-to-back in the history of college basketball, going back-to-back is extremely tough because you lose a lot of good play. They lost 2 NBA pros in the first round, Abaji and Braun. So they lost 2 wing guys. They were first-round picks, 2 first-rounders, and you're going to make it back to the NBA or NCAA finals? That is extremely tough. Like, this ain't the Florida Gators with Joakim Noah and Al Horford, Corey Brewer back in the day. That's what it takes to go back-to-back. And you got some great teams like Duke, Kentucky. They don't go back-to-back. You think Kansas is going to do it? No, this is not a historically great team. So, Kansas, they got a nice team again this year. They got the 1st seed, but that's why.
And they got an NBA guy. They got a nice NBA guy. 6'8" wing guard. He's
the rookie. The rookie. First year freshman.
Is he a freshman?
Grady Dick. Yeah, Grady Dick.
Dick.
That's his name.
Grady
Just
Dick.
get a top 10 pick this year.
He's nice.
Nice little 2-guard, man. But going back-to-back extremely tough. So, for me, man, UConn's going to beat out, even though Kansas is a worthy opponent. UCLA, obviously, is a worthy opponent. It's going to be a tough conference, man. But I'm going with the UConn Huskies, baby, man.
Out of that region?
Of that region, baby.
Yeah.
Lock and loaded, baby. Lock and loaded. But, man, before the other parts, man, I'm going chalk, baby. I'm going chalk.
One across the board.
I'm going chalk. So, obviously, in Houston, I got to always pick a couple number 1 seed. Houston. Lock and loaded. No doubt about it, man. And even looking through my criterias again, man. The criteria, I'm going straight objective. Houston, multiple NBA players. They got an NBA potential point guard in Sasser. He might not be like, oh, this dude's
nice.
He's a nice
He'll
point
play
guard.
in the league.
Yeah, and in college basketball, I'm looking through like potential NBA point guards. It is really, I can't see any.
Yeah.
I can't see any. So this guy might step up himself and be, okay, this is the dude, man. And they have another guy on Walker. So Houston, based on the record this year, objectively, this is probably a consensus top 1 or top 2 NCAA basketball team this year. So I'm going with Houston. In other division with Bama, I'm picking Bama to make it 2. Even with all the drama down there, obviously with the off the field situation, man, they got a stud. Like as Sean was mentioning, man, potential
Brandon
top 3
Miller,
pick, man. Mr. Miller, man, and he got a complimentary, another big and Clowney. Like I like it, but the guard play scares me a little.
Winterly's nice. He had a nice couple SEC tournament games, man.
A little nice, but I look at the numbers. I'm like, I don't even trust him. Loki reminds me of that Auburn team with Jabari.
Yeah, with
Smith.
Jabari and his guards. Yeah,
you got great like wings and fours, but the guard play's not a good. Even though I'm like, okay, you got some pros on the team, so gives me vibes of that. So, but I can see them win it too. But the guard play scares me a little, man. But then this last division, man, with the Purdue dominating number 1 seed again, they got the big fella, Mr. Zach Edey. down there, Mr. 7'4" himself, man. I swear to God, Purdue just grows 7-footers out of their building,
Godzilla, man.
Dude, seriously. This is the least confident in because I don't really like any of the teams in there. Like Marquette, cute story, man. Cute story, man. I had a buddy that goes to Marquette. Cute story. Purdue, obviously,
he's gonna hate you for that.
I'm telling you, Jaden Ivey. I picked him last year. Obviously, he failed me, and now he's gone. They don't have a true point guard down there to replace Jaden Ivey. They had Edie down there, number 1 seed, the best team in Big Ten, man, Midwest team, man. Good for them. I don't like this pick at all, man.
It's a tough region.
I'm going, because I'm looking like the rest of
I'm looking at it right now.
I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. Even though you got some blue bloods in there in Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke, obviously Memphis finished strong. I'm just like, I don't know. So I'm going to just straight up go on chalk and take Purdue, but this is my least confident team out of these, the final 4 picks right now. Because I could easily think, pick another team, but I'm going straight chalk there. 3 number 1 seeds and 1 4th seed, man. Exactly.
All right. Well, I got 2 out of your 4, Zoo. So I'm going to agree with you on the UConn pick, actually. UConn coming out of the Western region, man. Like you said, man, they have unbelievable offensive rebounding. That's their other thing, man. They got a ton of length. They're one of the best offensive, if not best offensive rebounding team in the country. They have a tough conference, man. Marquette and Xavier, that's a 2 and a 3 seed respectively, man. And I know that they lost to Marquette by 2 in the Big East tournament, man. That's some solid competition to have to go up against every single year and really test you. They were unranked to start the season, man. And then they start 14-0. Obviously, Mr. What was it? Hummel, is he the head coach there at UConn, man? But my God, that team's impressed me. Sonogo, like you said, man, great guy down low, and I think their guard plays okay. I don't think it's nothing super special, but they're going to get under your nerves on the defensive side of the ball, and they can put up points, man. So I agree with the UConn pick. I think that is also my lowest pick making the Final Four prediction wise. I'll go back to the Purdue region because I think that one's actually really interesting, and I would argue as well the most wide open. I actually have Marquette coming out of there, man. 2 Big East teams making the Final Four. I just really love that point guard, man. Tyler Kolek, Big East Player of the Year. He's a great rebounder, man, and he's a great distributor, and he's got some swag, man. He loves to talk a little trash. He's like, you guys are going to finish 9th in the Big East this year. He's like, all right, screw him, man. I'll show you guys. Wins Big East Player of the Year. They win the close games in the Big East tournament. I think that's also huge that they can close a game because, as we know, man, you're not going to be blowing out teams left and right once you get past the Sweet 16. A lot of these games are going to be close. And I think Marquette, they have the fastest paced offense in the country, and they have the slowest paced defense in the country. So they make you work for everything and also make you work on the defensive end. So, I mean, they're just going to tire you out. They did have some sketchy games in the Big Ten tournament. They won by 2 against St. John's, barely pulled that out. UConn obviously is a solid team, like I said, but then they absolutely, wiped the floor with Xavier. So, that's a team I'm looking at. I think, like I said, I don't trust Purdue. I don't trust the fact that Zach Edey, yes, he can give you 30 a night, and they can shoot threes, but there's nobody that you can give the ball to create their own shot when you really need one. So that, I am an Indiana guy. Can't root for Purdue, but you can't put the biases in there. I just, without Jaden Ivey, man, if Jaden Ivey had stayed and he was playing with this level of Zach Edey, Jesus Christ, man, this team would easily probably be the favorite in the tournament, in my opinion. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. So, yeah, man, I got Marquette coming out of the Eastern Conference. I think Kansas State could give them some trouble. If Tennessee had their point guard healthy, I think they would be honestly my pick as well. But they, I forget the point guard's name there, but I think he's out for the tournament. So unfortunately, that's a team that really screwed me last year, and I'm not going to make that mistake twice, man. So can't be picking them. All right, Zoo, I'm gonna agree with you on the Bama pick. I think Brandon Miller is an absolute beast. I do think Quinterly is a solid enough guard to get it done. He can give you 20 if you need it, and they just wiped the floor with the entire SEC, man. Absolutely wiped the Aggies in the championship game with all the distractions. And I think that's the biggest thing, because if you can work through all that, the whole Darius Miles case and all that, that's pretty impressive. They had to add extra security to that team, man, to keep this Brandon Miller kid safe. So 6'9" forward, man, obviously not a guy that Zoo would fit the criteria of the good guard play, but if he can create his own shot, man, he's putting up 22 and 12 a game. Can't really complain there when you can also run the floor really well. So they're also the best defensive team on a field goal percentage opponent aspect. So they can really piss you off on the defensive side as well. And I always like to see that. I know it's not exciting, but when you're making a pick, man, you got to look at the numbers, Zoo. Got to look at that adjusted defensive efficiency. No turnovers is another big one too. Assists, very high. You picking Houston, man?
Yeah.
What about Texas? You don't like Texas? Houston hasn't been challenged all year, man.
Texas, okay. I got one question for you for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Name one NBA. Name one potential NBA player on Texas.
I can't.
Sedona.
Hey, there's always a guy in the tournament that ends up proving himself to make the NBA, man. Not saying they have a Steph Curry, but that's exactly what Steph Curry did in the tournament, man. There's someone that's going to, if they continue to thrive, which they absolutely ran through the Big 12, very much, I think, impressed a lot of people in another very tough conference with Kansas State. TCU's a solid team. Baylor's another good team with, I think, Sean, you mentioned him a couple podcasts. Keontae Johnson.
We're about to talk about Baylor in a minute, yeah.
And Baylor's another team that I got moving relatively far in this tournament, but I think they just got to go through Bama, and I think Bama's the most complete team at this point, and they've been challenged the most in a tougher conference than Houston has. I think they're in the American Conference or something like that, with Memphis might be their biggest competitor there, and they're a 9 seed, man. So come on, we're talking about a Bama team. Texas, man. I also just look at that side and I'm thinking, okay, Xavier a 3 seed, they're not that impressive. Iowa State 6, Indiana 4. I'm sorry, alma mater. They can get hot, and I would keep them in mind. It's very possible that they could give people a run for their money. Miami at a 5 seed, and then Houston's your number 1 seed. So, I mean, I think Texas has a legit chance to come out of this side, not because of their NBA potential, Zoo, but because I don't trust 100% any of the other teams. A little bit similar to the Purdue pick, man. I'm just not that confident in Houston, even though I do really enjoy watching Sasser play. I think he's going to be a nice, solid NBA player. So the Purdue side and the Texas side are the ones that I'm very interested to see how they actually end up playing out, because I think they're a bit more wide open compared to the other two.
I got a question for you, man. Man. The Hoosiers, man. How high do you got the Hoosiers going, man? How far do you got the Hoosiers going this year? Obviously, 4th seed. They're a 4th seed this year, man. Relatively high seed. I haven't seen them
getting
this high
beat by
quite
Houston
a while.
in the Sweet 16.
I think they lose Sweet 16 to Houston. I agree. They lose. Yeah. They make Sweet 16. They lose to Houston, who ends up facing Texas, and that's my Elite 8 matchup is Houston and Texas. I have Texas coming out. It sounds like you got Houston coming out of that game. So, but Indiana, man, they have one of the best big men in the country. Jalen Hood-Schifino is the real deal, man. He's a nice young point guard. I think if he stays another year, he'll end up being a top 12 pick in the NBA draft. If he continues to improve his 3-point shot, because his mid-range is smooth, man. He must be watching DeMar DeRozan highlights, I swear to God. So, this team is just, they can't shoot threes, and they're a bit undersized. So, that's my issue with them. I think if they have to go up against a Houston team, they could get a bit exposed. But yeah, man, I don't trust Kent State against them. And, Miami's always, he can make a little bit of noise coming out of the ACC, but I just think Indiana is more battle tested than Miami is this year. So the Big Ten always just beats each other up, man, which kind of exhausts them throughout the year, as we've seen ever since we've gone to school there back in 2014. So yeah, it's going to be, that's also an interesting region.
Yeah. I'm kind of with the chalk, like Zoo was talking about, with an exception, but I'm going to kind of explain my chalk. So like in the South, Alabama, like the only game I feel like would give them trouble would be the Baylor game, and that's because I like Keontae George a lot because he's an NBA guard, and if he starts going off in the 2 rounds that would be, I guess they would meet in the Elite 8, like the Sweet 16. He goes off, that could be an interesting series, but to Alabama's credit, they actually got a team that's more than, I know Brandon Miller's a star, but Noah Clowney's a really good defensive force, and they got other guys on that team that can play. So, because they're the number 1 overall seed, so that kind of shows that they're like a completer team. So in that South region, Purdue, that region for me was really tough because there's like a lot of blue blood names in that region, but I just don't feel comfortable picking any of those teams over Purdue. I almost feel like in that particular region, Purdue would have to just go cold or like somebody gets in foul trouble for them to lose. You got to get Edie
in foul trouble. That's how you.
If they play Duke, I could see it because Duke is ratings. I could see if the game is close, Duke just getting that extra charge call or like that extra, and one. I could see that
NBA
if it gets
rigging.
close. Yeah. Because, I mean, if we watched the tournament last year, even though North Carolina was on the heater, a lot of that was setting up because of Coach K's last year. We got to get them in the Final Four. So sometimes that is not playing a factor this year, but who knows? Purdue is not. Let's just say Purdue's not going to get the calls if they're playing against Duke. They're just not. So going down like Midwest Houston, the reason why I'm big on Houston this year is because last year when they were playing, they seem, I can't remember. I think it was when they played Villanova. I think they lost to Villanova. I think. Did they lose to Villanova last year? I think they did. But just watching that game, they were so physical and athletic getting off the bounce, guys getting offensive rebounds. And I feel like they, I think Kelvin Sampson's their coach this year. I'm not sure. I think he is. But just seeing how they played last year, just the tenacity and the ferocity of how they just were, like, I feel like they were in full court press the entire game. Like, they're just always in your face and they're just an aggressive team. So I feel like they, felt like they should have got to the championship game last year, and they're going to have a lot of motivation to get there. And like I say, they don't have like the NBA guys where it's like lottery or like, maybe middle of the first round, but they got guys that are probably going to be in the league. Like, it's like a Fred VanVleet. Like, I think he went undrafted, but it's like, oh, Fred VanVleet's getting a second or third contract and then maybe $100 million this year. Like, they're going to get guys that like can play basketball. I mean, Kelvin Sampson's always had good teams. But where I disagree, because I said I have Alabama and Purdue getting into the Final Four.
Okay.
Arkansas, I think, has a really good chance to get there. And I was NBADraft.net. They have two guys that are like combo-ish guards. I wouldn't say they're points, but like, and I would say the Anthony Black guy's 6'6", 6'7", so he's more of a wingish. He'll probably be a wing in the league. But those guys are like right now, and NBADraft.net is not the freaking, ESPN or any of the other ones. But yes, definitely not the Bible. But they got them in the top 10. And Nick Smith, I want to say, have to fact check me, but I want to say he was the number one overall player, I think at 247, like composite. He was the number one player as a combo guard, 6'3" combo guard. So, and I think he got and that kind of got picked up because I think LeBron, I think Clutch signed him like right when he got into college, like as this like NIL type deal. So like I think they thought he was a guy he could like go that could go and go get buckets. So seeing that, and if you watch Arkansas last year when they played Duke, they gave Duke all they wanted last year. Like I think they had the guy that's on OKC now, one of the Williams guys. He was a really crucial player for them. I'm not sure they had some other guys on that team too, but Arkansas plays. I wouldn't say they're like Houston with just the press and in your face driving to the basket, but Musselman as a coach, he knows how to coach his butt off. He's completely changed that program. He had him in the Elite Eight last year. I think they're a team, if those guards get hot and they get going, I think they're a team that could just knife through some, because in the SEC, like it was a competitive league this year. I think Nick Smith had to like leave for a little bit because he had an injury, but when he came back, he was going and he was getting buckets, and Black's always been there getting buckets for them. So I like them a lot. I think I got them meeting with UConn. I think it's want to say it's the Elite 8.
I got them knocking off.
I think it's the Elite 8.
Kansas. Yep.
Yeah, Elite 8, and I got no. Actually, I got UCLA. Arkansas beating UCLA to get to the Final Four, but yeah, I got Arkansas going and getting to that Final Four. Like the two teams I'm like really high on is Arkansas and Houston. Like those are my two favorite right now. Just watching their highlights and I actually watched a little bit of and this might be biased because I watched a little bit of the Final Four, or not Final Four, but the tournament last year, and just seeing how they played. Like I was like, man, they actually played really well last year, and I feel like they have better teams this year. So guards, to Zoo's point, when you're talking about guards in the NCAA tournament and it's just go time and you need to go get a bucket, those are guys you want to depend on. Those are just guys you want to go to. And when you got multiple, I'm a fan of that. And plus, too, if you look at Arkansas's track in that region, if I pull it back up, like
they got to get through
Kansas. I don't think anybody, like Kansas, for me, I think it's the whole just back-to-back. That's just going to be, like, if they go back-to-back, salute to them. But that's just impossible to do in college basketball now. So they're going to slip up somehow. But
UConn and UCLA, I think, are the two hardest teams that they'll have to potentially beat.
And you know what's hilarious? We're all like, we're saying everybody said everything that they said on the pod about the NCAA tournament thus far. it's going to be hilarious. Gonzaga's in the championship game because there's nobody's talking about them. Nobody, like every year that they're like the favorite and like need to be the team that gets to the Final Four or expect to get there, they crumble. But like
that was a hell of a team,
year.
That was a hell of a
I think that was a COVID year, wasn't it? Or the year after? I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like it was like
completely empty. Yeah.
I think it's 2020.
He made that bank shot,
So sad. If only there was a crowd for that, man. Oh, my Lord.
Like, that was a stacked team. Jalen Suggs, Nembhard, Drew Timmy. My goodness.
Drew Timmy's still there.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, somehow, man.
Still there. Yeah.
Really.
5th, 6th year eligibility. But Gonzaga, this would be the year they freaking go to the Final Four, get to a championship, and like win it. Because I haven't heard anybody talking about them as being like a sleeper or potential team that can get there. So, but my two favorite teams right now is Arkansas and Houston. So we're gonna see. I just think NBA guards, man, NBA wings.
I had Arkansas on my short list, man. The only reason I took them off, was their conference tournament performance, man, getting knocked out super early.
Yeah, they put a dud up. Yeah, they definitely did.
That was the only reason, because I had them on my list, man. I was like, okay, this is an 8th underrated pick. That I love the multiple NBA guards, man. It intrigued me. But that performance
reminds a little bit of the Boat Wright and Shabazz.
Dude, it does, man. Because legit,
like a bigger version of those guys.
Bigger version, exactly.
Legit, that team.
They were 9 seed.
They should have lost in the first round. I remember that game. They should have lost in the first round, and they won it all. So, legit. It's possible, man. It is possible.
Very.
So, I love that pick. I love that underrated pick.
But I'm only at like 2 brackets right now, so I got to get going and get like maybe 3 more because I haven't done my CBS one yet. Because in years prior, and this is just maybe superstition, I've kind of always had just more success on CBS. I don't know why. Because I mean, everybody picks completely different brackets from each website that you do them on, but it's the CBS I've had success on. I don't know. Maybe it's the layout. But like I said, March Madness is here. We're going to be talking about it, updating throughout the years. They're going to be starting tomorrow, getting ramped up around 12 o'clock.
Full time.
So you guys make sure you got multiple TVs. Go ahead, put the disclaimer out here now. No work's getting done tomorrow. Going to have, I work from home, but still it's going to be no work done around from 12 to like 5 at least. So you guys make sure you tune into the Bullheaded_pod page. We're going to be putting up all kind of highlights from March Madness to the NBA to NFL signings, things of that nature. Listen to our audio medium with Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. We're also on Anchor. If you guys are really in tune with Anchor, they're kind of doing a thing with Spotify now where they're linking, and I guess somebody bought each other and they're putting audio on that format. So if you don't have any of those 3 big DSPs, you can definitely get on Anchor and listen to us there because Spotify is in conjunction with them. So make sure you guys check that out. YouTube, Quantrill Knows. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.